Good afternoon and welcome to the Living Well radio program. You can find us here every Wednesday at 1 p.m. on KATB 89.3 in Anchorage as well as KJLP 88.9 on Palmer. You can also find us online at katb.org, and don't forget to look us up on Facebook at Living Well Radio. And one more place, you can find us on iTunes and download our podcast. That's a mouthful, isn't it, Betty?
It is. I don't know how you say all that.
Quit adding to the list. We're in enough places, and you guys need to find us there. We want to grow our community, and
we're actually going to start something new, aren't we?
Yes.
You'll have to stay tuned and listen to more details.
Yes, we'll be sharing that next week, right? Or maybe
a few
week
details.
After. Okay.
The week after.
Yeah, we look forward to sharing that with you, and just a way to kind of bring community to Living Well versus just being, through technology. We want to do some different things with it, so that'll be exciting. My name is Cammie, always joined by my co-host Betty.
That's right.
Love having her, my partner in crime with this. We have a great time and just enjoy.
We've done a lot of laughing today.
We have. We have. And listen, we are so excited to have Pastor Chris Carter joining us in the studio today. He is no stranger to us. We get to pass him in the halls often in the building, but not often do we get to interview him. So this is going to be exciting, isn't it?
He has a lot going on.
He does. But we have stolen him for 30 minutes today, today only. So we hope that you guys are going to literally just stay in your car for a little while and listen, or whatever you're doing.
Have a cup of coffee.
Yep. Get the treadmill fired up. Do 30 minutes on that while you're listening to the podcast. Something. But stay tuned because we're talking to Pastor Chris Carter. So thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Cool. Looking forward to it.
Yes. We want to just ask you, Chris, most people listening, they may or may not know you. Give us the 411 on the Carter family. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your gang that you've got behind you in ministry.
All right. So I grew up in Anchorage. Starting at age 7, my dad was transferred up here through the military, through the Army. And then shortly after that, he retired and we decided to stay. So I was already starting to go to school at Anchorage Christian Schools and went through my entire educational career there, finished up my high school diploma in 99, and then went off and did my education. I kind of bounced around all over the place trying to find the most affordable college I could to go as little in debt as possible. And after about 10 years, I was able to finish my undergrad as well as my MBA. And I was able to be in Arizona for about 6 years as a lay pastor there at Canyon Springs Baptist Church in Apache Junction. And then Pastor Prevost called me back and said, hey, would you be interested in coming back and being our children's pastor? And that's kind of where it started. So I've been back now for about 7 years.
Wow. I like to get the behind-the-scenes stories, right, Betty? But I just want to ask you, what was that? I mean, we talk about the texts and the phone calls that are life-changing. What was it like to get that phone call for you?
It was, quite honest, scary.
Yeah.
You're always in your comfort zone. And I had started to live in a comfort zone there in Arizona. I knew my flock that I had there, and I knew my role. And, we had Faith and Drew both in Arizona, and things were going very well for us whenever I got that phone call. And it was just kind of a shock because we thought, man, as far as we knew, we were going to be in Arizona the rest of our lives. And it ended up being something totally different. And God had a new plan for us and wanted me to come back to Alaska where it all started for me. And I have such a respect for the Anchorage Baptist Temple and what they did in mentoring me and guiding me and getting me to a place where I wanted to be in full-time ministry. And so for me to be able to come back here and do it and help other people in the children's ministry was just an amazing thought.
Wow, that's a really cool story. But it's neat just to walk through the hallways as a pastor, the same ones that you did as a child, and quite the revelation.
It really is. Just being able to walk with kids and lead them through the same hallways I went through and show them some of the same things that I went through and be able to speak with real life experience to them really makes a difference.
So I guess take us back a little bit, one step back. What drove you towards wanting to be a children's pastor? At what point did you know that this was the calling on your life?
It's funny you mentioned that because when I was in Arizona, I was primarily doing the music ministry there for that church, and I was doing the youth pastoring, working with primarily senior hires. And it was a smaller church in Arizona, and as the needs changed, my role had to change. And so we graduated a bunch of high schoolers, and the next thing we knew, we had a bunch of children that needed a leader. And so I basically went overnight from youth pastor to children's pastor, working with the little kids. And it was at that point that my passion really changed as far as seeing a need to build those foundational blocks with those children and get them to the place where they were ready to take life head on as a middle schooler, and being able to lay those principles and those biblical truths down at an early age.
So what would you say are some of the challenges in working with children? I think you've kind of mentioned the joys, and that would be understandable. What are some of the challenges you face in trying to pastor that younger age group?
I would say probably the biggest changes, or the biggest difficulty for me, is really trying to put myself in a position to assist parents. You've got so many different walks of life, so many different things that are changing in our culture. To be able to stand beside parents and assist them the best way possible with such a fast-changing culture and society that we're dealing with, just trying to help them and really get them to a place where they feel like they're being effective in trying to guide their children and lead their children in a godly way. It's a real challenge for us to be able to stay ahead of the curve there. And be able to stay up with technology and video gaming and all of the different things that are going on that these children are bombarded with at an early age. Where when I was in high school, some of the things that I wasn't ever introduced to until high school, these kids are being introduced to at third and fourth grade. And so having to adapt to that, and yet still having to use language that they understand as a third or fourth grader, has been a challenge.
Wow, that's an interesting way to put it, kind of dealing with adult problems, but yet with the mentality of a child, and trying to figure out how to meet them where they're at in that aspect. That's interesting. Chris, we're just going to jump right into kind of the big news of talking about how you spend the majority of your summer. You know, every time I'm talking to you, you're hanging out in parks, you're packing and unpacking these huge, gigantic blow-ups. Why are you doing that?
It's all about community. You know, we're trying to reach out into the community and let them know that we're here for them. And one of the biggest ways that we do that is through these Parkapaloozas. And most people, they always ask me, what in the world is a Parkapalooza? And basically, it's a day at the park. We set up our inflatable games. We go out there and we cook up a bunch of hot dogs and serve chips and drinks to them, all free of charge. And we let them bounce around and have fun. We do a little program with the kids halfway through and present them the gospel and let them know that Jesus loves them and cares about them and wants to have a relationship with them. But I do it all summer long, and I've got a great team that helps me do that. We minister to hundreds of families every single time that we do it. Just yesterday, we were at a park, and we had over 300 in attendance. Just at this one park, served over 600 hot dogs in 2 hours. So it's fast-paced, but what it does is it shows the community that we're out there and that we care about them. We really do love them, and we want to be part of their lives. And so that's why we do it, and that's why we, kind of schedule ourselves even sometimes a little too close, but just to make sure that we do as much as we can to show the community we care.
Now, you've got Parkapaloozas all week long this week, correct?
As a matter of fact, we're having one right now at Willowa Park. We're over there right now, and we're going to be out there until 2 o'clock. And then we'll be, that's our last one of this week. We'll be over at Windsong Park next Tuesday, and we'll be there. And that'll be our last one of the summer as we start to gear down for some of our other programs that we have at ABT, Fusion Alaska, ABT Kids Camp, basketball camp, things like that we're doing. But yeah, we've been all really busy this week, having 5 Parkapaloozas in 1 week. We've got a great missions team that's helping us out from Colorado, and they've been a real joy to work with this year.
How have you done 5 in 1 week? You do one a day, or have you done 2 a day?
We've been doing 2 a day. So we've been at Willowa Park from 12 to 2, and then we basically load up the box truck and then take it right over to Turpin Park, and we've been there from 6 to 8 p.m. each night.
Man,
wow. That's a lot of hot dogs. So if anybody's out there and can't find hot dogs for sale, we now know
the reason why.
We've got them all. We've got a monopoly on it. So. But it's a great ministry, and it's a great outreach. And I just love seeing all the families that'll come up to us and say, hey, thank you so much for a free meal and just a free family night to be outside enjoying the weather.
Now, are these free?
Completely free. And anytime you hear that, you're like, okay, where's the catch? There is none. There is no catch at all. As a matter of fact, while we're there, we actually give away Cold Stone Creamery gift cards.
Wow.
And we do that. We give away gift cards to anybody who might want to come to our church on a Sunday morning. And if they just present this little card that they showed up at one of the Parkapaloozas, we'll give them a Red Robin meal voucher. So no strings attached. We just want to show that we love them.
And where did you say you were going to be next week?
Next week, we're going to be at Windsong Park, which is off of Muldoon Road, and we'll be there Tuesday night from 6 to 8 p.m.
We're off of Muldoon Road. I have no idea where this park is at.
It's kind of back in the Glencairn trailer court area there, so that's where we're going to be. And again, 6 to 8 p.m., and it'll be all free, and we're looking forward to having a great time with those folks.
So, Chris, I want to ask you, you have a few children of your own, as you mentioned earlier, and yet, you fulfill the role of a pastor here with all of our services at Anchorage Baptist Temple, and then you've got this busy schedule. How do you manage all of that? How does your family kind of circle around you, and you guys make it a family ministry to keep up with this busy schedule?
Really, Cami, I think you just answered that question, and that is I incorporate our family into the ministry. It is a family ministry. If I was trying to do it by myself, there's no way. There's no way. Without Rhoda, my wife, helping me and guiding me, and also just being there beside me, taking care of the kids, all of those things that are just so necessary for ministry to happen. She's my right arm when it comes to Vacation Bible School and other events that I do. She's just so critical to what I do as a pastor. And then as far as the kids, the beauty of being in kids ministry is that they get to participate.
They always got something to do, don't they?
They do. They are never bored. So they love Parkapalooza. They love kids camp and VBS, basketball camps. They love it all. So they get to be part of that. And I think it gives me an advantage as a children's pastor to be able to see my own children participating in the ministry, to see what's working for them and what's not working for them, to help us be even more effective. So as the years go on and I end up with middle schoolers instead of elementary kids, I may have to figure out something else. But in the meantime, it's really great. And as a children's pastor, you have to, as a pastor in general, you have to learn when to make sure you give that time to your family, because being a pastor is a calling, and it is a job that is a lot of hours and a lot of different hours, and that's why it's so beneficial to have a wife who is ministry oriented, understands that. She was a pastor's kid herself, so she understands that side of it. But for us to be able to sit down and schedule out, hey, this is what we're doing. Like, we're going to take a week off here where it's just family time. Last week, I was out in Willow for the whole week with my family, unplugged, away from work, just with the family. And it's those types of things that we have to purposely organize and make happen, or else you don't get that. So that's really where it comes down to, is just being a planner and a proactive person to make sure that family time happens.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that, because that is super important.
Yes.
And I'm sure it's easy just to always have that heart of ministry to where it kind of crowds out that time. So I'm glad to see that you guys are intentional about getting that time together.
What else is coming up for children for the rest of the summer?
So the next big thing that we have going on is our basketball camp. It's at the end of the month in July 24th through the 28th. This is actually a great opportunity. We're bringing in a missions team from Simpsonville, South Carolina. And Tony Eubanks is a former professional athlete, basketball player, and he's going to be up coaching all of the kids. This is for grades 3 through 12, and it's a developmental league. But the best part about it is the price, $80 for the entire week, and that's 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. So, I mean, it's an amazing deal. That includes lunch every day. It includes a Bible and a jersey at the end of the week. And we just want to, again, love on these kids, show them the game of life through the game of basketball, and show them how they can be better people, and how the game of basketball kind of shows us a lot of different life lessons that we can learn. And Tony Eubanks does a great job with that. So they're going to be out here that last week in July, and there's still plenty of room for people to sign up. So if you've got a 3rd through 12th grader that loves the game of basketball and could use that time, then go to our website at www.ancbt.org, and right on the homepage they can register and pay online.
Cool.
Perfect. And then you also have Kids Camp coming up. Now, is registration full for that?
Registration is not full for that. That is August 7th through the 11th. And we go out to Soldotna, Solid Rock Bible Camp there for 5 days. I love Kids Camp. It's a highlight of my year, mainly because I'm running around trying to organize 400 to 500 kids on Sunday, whereas during camp I've got 90 to 100 that I can just invest in for a solid week, and I get to spend so much quality time with these kids and really just work with them on a one-on-one. And this year our theme is questions. So we're talking about deep questions that kids have about God, the Bible, their families, and how do we address some of those tough questions. And so it's going to be an interesting series that we're going to do this year, just digging deep into God's Word. They're even going to be presenting the questions to us for us to use in our lessons. So it's going to be a really, really great camp experience. And we do have plenty of room available. It is $230 per camper for the week, but they can register again on our website at ancbt.org.
Perfect. So that's the place to go, ancbt.org. We can sign up for basketball camp, kids camp, and probably find out about the upcoming Parkapaloozas. There'll be a few left.
That's right. Yeah, we'll have the one on. Of course, the other one is wrapping up right now at Willowa, but we'll have that last one at Windsong Park, and again, that information will be on our website.
Is there a story or something that just really stands out in your mind about one of the Parkapaloozas that you want to share with us?
Sure, absolutely. Just a few weeks ago, we were at Dave Rose Park, and we were just ministering to that community, and we noticed while we were there, there were a large number of homeless folks that were there in that area at that park, and we've learned to work with that, knowing that these folks are going to show up, because it doesn't take long for word to get around that there's a free meal. And of course, we certainly want to help them. And so they show up. And we had the opportunity with another missions team to be able to minister to a couple of those homeless folks. One of them right now we're trying to assist with getting into a permanent living situation, just as a direct result of being able to be in a Parkapalooza and meet us. And so we're always looking for those opportunities. The missions team that was there also financially contributed to them in purchasing them groceries and other things. One of the little girls that was in that family actually received Christ into her life right there at the Parkapalooza. And so it was really great to be able to work with that particular family and still work with them and try to help them get them back on their feet. And we come across those on a regular basis through our Parkapalooza ministry. So seeing them, of course, most of the parks that we target are underprivileged areas, low-income areas. And so those are the folks that we really want to try to, help and have an impact on.
So in kind of backing things up again, Pastor Chris,
is there anything else you want to add? Anything coming up for kids that you want to talk about or share with our audience?
The bus ministry is an amazing thing at the Anchorage Baptist Temple. I'm fortunate enough to be part of the bus ministry at the Anchorage Baptist Temple, and we bus in over 350 boys and girls and teenagers every single Sunday. And I would just say to anybody who, maybe you're not so sure about this whole church thing, but your kids are looking for a family-friendly place to go on Sunday where they can have good, wholesome influences and meet some great people that are going to, try to help them live on the straight and narrow and make wise choices. I would encourage you to call the church and say, hey, I'd like to schedule my kids to come and just ride on the bus to church. For some of our parents, they may say, hey, that's not really for me right now, but I wouldn't mind my kids going and getting into an environment like that and an atmosphere like that. And it can help many, many children, as it does every single year. So I would encourage you to call ABT and just say, hey, I'm interested in having my kids come to church. Or if you don't have a church home at all and you're looking for a place to go, if you've got kids, they need to see that you care about them, that you're ready to invest in their lives, and we would love to have them come and join us at ABT as well.
One thing we might need to mention, is there a minimum age that you have to be before you can ride the bus alone?
Yes, actually there is. If they're going to be unaccompanied by an adult, then they have to be 5 or older. But if a parent does come, then they can ride early on, as early as they'd like to.
And we do have classes for adults too.
Absolutely.
If they, feel comfortable leaving their child.
Absolutely.
In the children's program.
Yes, we do. And we also encourage parents, if they're, wanting to observe and just sit and watch for a while before they go to their own class, they're more than welcome to do that. We want to make sure that they feel comfortable.
Thank you for saving me earlier, Betty. Just drew an absolute blank. That's why I have a wonderful co-host. Appreciate the backup there. Appreciate everything that you shared with us today, Pastor Chris, and just your heart behind the ministry. And I do love that the Anchorage Baptist Temple has the bus ministry to provide a way for parents to kind of send their kids to church if they're not quite ready. But what do you see those kids kind of being faced with that come on the buses time and time again and their families, aren't joining them? How do you kind of re-encourage them just to keep on keeping on?
With them, it's they see their own family situation in such a different way. They're looking for answers to a lot of difficult questions. Why are my parents not together anymore? Why is this happening? There's really some heart-wrenching stories that I could get into with some of our bus kids and some of the lives that they're in right now and the situations that they're dealing with. But the main thing that we do is we try to encourage them that God loves them and He cares about them. And even if they maybe have a difficult situation at home or at school, that they can always trust on God and on His Word. It's reliable and will always steer us in the right direction. And these kids, they know it, they love it, they believe it. And seeing these kids ask God for specific things and watch God answer their prayers, it just builds their faith so incredibly strong that by the time they're 5th graders, they know God's Word is true and that God is real and that He loves them and He's active in their lives. And that's really what keeps these kids going, is understanding that, no matter what may fall apart around them in their circumstances and situations, there's one constant, and that is God.
Well, and it seems like, too, when you talk to adults later in life that maybe have kind of fallen away from the Lord a little bit, they seem to reference that childhood. And so having that firm foundation to kind of bring them back to that point of reference of where to turn to kind of get some answers, I think it's neat to see just how implanted that becomes at such a young age.
It really does. And if you look at, child psychologists will tell you, these kids they're not abstract thinkers at that elementary age. They're very concrete in their thinking. So if you can lay those building blocks early, those foundations early, then they will come back to it. They will come back to it. And Scripture tells us that, that, if you teach them early on, that it will come back to them. And they'll come back to God and they'll realize, hey, this is where I found truth at an early age.
Yeah, absolutely. So one more time, Pastor Chris, give us the 411, the details on the things you have coming up, the dates and the prices, and where to register.
Okay. So the next biggest thing that we've got going on, of course, is our last Parkapalooza of the year. That's going to be next Tuesday. We're going to be at Windsong Park, just off of Muldoon. If you're not sure where that is, you can throw it in your smartphone and it'll tell you exactly where that location is. And then we have, at the end of the month, basketball camp, July 24th through the 28th. $80 to register per camper for the entire week. which is an amazing deal, and it's an all-day camp, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and they can register online at ABT's website. Also, we have Kids Camp, August 7th through the 11th, and that's going to be in Soldotna, Alaska for 5 whole days, overnight trip there, and will be $230 there per person to go there, and they can also register at the same website at ancbt.org, and they can register, pay online, and of course, you can always call the church and ask for me, Pastor Chris, and I can answer any further questions that they have, give them any more information so that they feel comfortable having their kids take part in these events.
Awesome. Thank you
Great.
so much.
Thanks.
Appreciate your time, Pastor Chris. We know you're a busy guy, and we just appreciate all that you do to serve our children here at the Anchorage Baptist Temple, and thank you for giving us a little bit of your time today.
You're welcome. No problem.
And that's another Living Well radio program. And once again, you can find us here every Wednesday at 1 p.m. on KATB 89.3 in Anchorage, as well as KJLP 88.9 in Palmer, and find us online at katb.org, as well as our Facebook page, and look us up on iTunes and download our podcast there. We look forward to joining you next Wednesday at 1 p.m.